You think you know British comedy? Think again. For decades, American audiences have been spoon-fed the same tired stereotypes. Monty Python, Benny Hill, maybe a whiff of Faulty Towers if you're lucky. But what about the subversive, the anarchic, the laugh-out-loud films that never cross the Atlantic? Why did U.S. viewers get the remakes but not the real deal? Ready to meet the wild, witty originals that slipped right under Hollywood's radar? Keep watching. These classics are hiding in plain sight. Number 10. Whisky Galore, 1949. Here's a premise. A sleepy Scottish island in the middle of wartime rationing, running desperately low on whiskey. Already you know chaos is coming, and that's before a cargo ship crashes offshore carrying 50,000 cases of the good stuff. Now, if you think this sounds like a setup for a bland morality tale, you clearly haven't met Ealing Studios. Whisky Galore takes that prim British exterior and douses it in pure, mischievous rebellion. Based on a true story, because, let's face it, only the Brits could turn a national booze shortage into legendary comedy, this 1949 film is the original stick-it-to-the-man caper. The villagers, led by the wily postmaster and his equally conniving pals, hatch a plan to rescue the whiskey before the authorities arrive. Imagine Ocean's 11 with more kilts, fewer teeth, and a total disregard for the law. Except, in this case, the law is a stuffy English Home Guard officer played to uptight perfection by Basil Radford. What makes it brilliant? Every character is a walking contradiction. Prim Presbyterians who become raucous bootleggers overnight. Local matriarchs who suddenly have a taste for the water of life. And a community that transforms bureaucracy into an art form. The movie never punches down. Instead, it punches up, at rules, at rationing, at the stifling grip of authority. It's a sly roast of British post-war bureaucracy, complete with fake funerals, strategic diversions, and a recurring motif. Whiskey is the secret fuel of survival. It's all delivered with that legendary dry wit. No laugh track, no pratfalls, just subtle, slow-burn hilarity. Americans got their fill of prohibition flicks, but Whisky Galore is pure anti-establishment mischief. No surprise, Hollywood never truly remade it. They just wouldn't know where to start. If you want a taste of what kept the home fires laughing after the Blitz, this is your first shot. Bottoms up. Number 9. The Happiest Days of Your Life, 1950. Forget what you think you know about British school comedies. Before Harry Potter turned Hogwarts into a posh holiday camp, there was The Happiest Days of Your Life, a post-war farce where chaos reigns supreme and the adults are more bonkers than the kids. Imagine a stuffy boys' boarding school suddenly forced, by government decree, to share its building with a raucous girls' school. Picture the look of panic on the faces of the schoolmasters. Now multiply it by 10. This is classic Ealing Studios at their most chaotic. The film kicks off with a bureaucratic mix-up. Because what better way to lampoon British society than by showing just how little control anyone actually has? Headmaster William Hunter, played by Alistair Sim, British comedy royalty, tries to maintain order, while Joyce Grenfell's Miss Whitchurch leads her girls' school with a blend of steel and sheer unfiltered chaos. Let's just say the boys' strict routines and the girls' freewheeling antics don't exactly blend, unless you call chalk fights, mistaken identities, and the most disastrous Parents' Day in cinema history blending. Why did U.S. audiences miss this? Probably because it's a full-throttle lampoon of British class anxiety, where even the most uptight schoolmistress can be undone by a rampant hockey stick or an overzealous schoolboy. The jokes are fast, the timing is razor-sharp, and the gags escalate to a finale so frenzied you'll need a stiff drink just to recover. This isn't just slapstick, it's a pointed send-up of the entire British education system, poking fun at everything from gender roles to the ridiculousness of adults' authority. The punchline? In the end, no one's really in control, not the headmasters, not the government, and definitely not the parents. The message is clear. Life after the war was anything but orderly, and sometimes the only thing to do is laugh as the institutions fall apart around you. Americans tried to capture British school chaos with movies like School of Rock, but this is the original, pure, unfiltered, and absolutely riotous. Number 8. The Lavender Hill Mob, 1951. Let's talk about the British sense of crime. In the States, heist movies mean car chases, shootouts, and explosions. In Britain, try two mild-mannered civil servants plotting the world's most polite gold heist, armed with nothing but bowler hats, bicycle clips, and an almost pathological fear of breaking the rules. The Lavender Hill Mob is the Ealing comedy that took the post-war gloom and spun it into a caper so clever, Hollywood's still pinching itself for missing out. Alec Guinness, yes, before he became Obi-Wan Kenobi, plays Henry Holland, a meek bank clerk who dreams of something more than just shuffling paperwork. Enter Stanley Holloway, his equally unimposing sidekick, and suddenly, the pair are knee-deep in the most British criminal plot imaginable, smuggling gold bullion out of the country, disguised as souvenir Eiffel Towers. The twist? Their plan is so ludicrously low-key, it almost works. Almost. The brilliance of the Lavender Hill Mob is its absolute commitment to understatement. No one shouts, no one swaggers, and the closest thing to violence is a panicked dash down a spiral staircase. The film drips with sly satire, taking aim at post-war austerity, the British obsession with bureaucracy, and the kind of stiff upper lip that makes even criminal conspirators apologize for the inconvenience. Every supporting character, from clueless cops to unsuspecting tourists, is another brick in the wall of absurdity. What sets this apart from American crime comedies? The humor is never broad or loud. It's a steady mounting sense of farce, delivered with impeccable timing, and the kind of deadpan dialogue that keeps you grinning long after the credits roll. Even the film's climactic chase, set among the chaos of a school field trip in Paris, is more Benny Hill than Bonnie and Clyde. This is the anti-heist movie. No guns, no glamour, just clever plotting, and a beautifully British refusal to take itself seriously. It won Alec Guinness a BAFTA, nabbed an Oscar for its script, and cemented Ealing's status as the home of quietly revolutionary comedy. U.S. audiences, they got the watered-down remakes, but never this sly original. Here's a heist film that proves sometimes the softest touch leaves the biggest mark. Number 7. The Man in the White Suit, 1951. What do you get when you cross a classic underdog story with razor-sharp social satire and wrap it all up in a lab coat? The Man in the White Suit, a film that manages to lampoon post-war industry, science, and the class system, all while making you laugh out loud at the chaos that unfolds when one genius just won't play by the rules. Alec Guinness, again, because honestly, who else? Stars as Sidney Stratton, a timid, stammering chemist who invents an unbreakable, unstainable fabric. You'd think this would make him the toast of industrial England. Instead, it's pure anarchy. Suddenly, both factory owners and labor unions are united, not in celebration, but in terror. If clothes never wear out, who needs to buy new ones? Who needs to keep working the mills? Sydney is declared public enemy number 1 by, well, pretty much everyone. The genius of The Man in the White Suit is how it takes one seemingly small scientific breakthrough and spins it into a biting satire of post-war progress. The bosses want profit, the workers want job security, and nobody, absolutely nobody, wants actual change. Guinness plays Sydney with a blend of wide-eyed innocence and stubborn determination, surrounded by a cast of characters whose self-interest is as transparent as Sydney's glowing suit. The movie is a masterclass in understated comedy, visual gags, that blinding white suit, zingers delivered with a straight face, and a creeping sense that, beneath the laughs, Britain's post-war optimism is one broken experiment away from falling apart. The supporting cast, Joan Greenwood as the whip-smart love interest, Cecil Parker as the oily mill owner, gives the film its biting edge. Americans love their genius outcast stories, but they rarely come this sly or this self-aware. There's no heroic speech, no last-minute reversal, just the stubborn, absurd march of progress, and the people determined to stop it at any cost. The Man in the White Suit is a sharp, prescient comedy that predicted the perils of innovation long before Silicon Valley existed. It's British satire at its most fearless, and it still fits, even today. Number 6. The Bells of St. Trinian's, 1954. If you think Mean Girls was revolutionary, prepare to have your socks knocked off. Decades before Tina Fey sharpened her claws, the Brits unleashed The Bells of St. Trinians, a film that didn't just rewrite the rulebook on school comedies, it gleefully set it on fire. This is the story of a girls' boarding school where the teachers are out of their depth, the students run rackets, and the only real subject is anarchy. The plot? A new minister of education arrives to inspect St. Trinian's, only to discover a hotbed of gambling, black market deals, and one of the wildest sporting events in movie history, the annual Parents versus Students hockey match, which feels more like gladiatorial combat than gym class. Alistair Sim, yes, a man, famously plays both the headmistress and her ne'er-do-well brother, switching wigs and accents faster than you can say cross-dressing chaos. What's so special about St. Trinian's? It's the total collapse of authority, and everyone's in on the joke. Teachers are hapless, police are clueless, and the girls are ruthless little entrepreneurs. The humor is broad but razor sharp, skewering everything from British class snobbery to the idea that nice girls always play by the rules. In fact, St. Trinian's made breaking the rules cool long before Hollywood even dared. Why did this never make it big in the U.S.? Maybe because its spirit of rebellion was just too wild for Eisenhower-era America. There's nothing wholesome here, just pure, joyful sabotage of every British institution in sight. And the best part? The film became a sensation in the UK, spawning sequels, stage adaptations, and a cult following that lasts to this day. The Bells of St. Trinian's isn't just a comedy. It's a declaration of war on boredom, mediocrity, and anyone who thinks school should be about obedience. If you want to see the original girl gang running riot, this is where it all began. Number 5. Private's Progress, 1956. Ever wondered how the British military managed to win a war when half their recruits were about as useful as a chocolate teapot? Private's Progress answers that question with a savage wink. This isn't a chest-thumping, heroic war movie. Oh no. This is a subversive laugh-out-loud send-up, where the real enemy isn't the Germans. It's British incompetence, bureaucracy, and a knack for looking out for number one. Our hero is Stanley Windrush, played to absolute perfection by Ian Carmichael. He's a hapless upper-class twit who stumbles from one disaster to another, drafted, baffled, and constantly outwitted by everyone from scheming officers to black market bandits. And make no mistake, everyone here is on the take. In this world, the higher-ups are shamelessly on the fiddle, the regular squaddies are running canes, and nobody seems all that interested in actually fighting a war. The film's secret weapon? A scathing sense of humor that doesn't just poke fun, it goes for the jugular. There's a long British tradition of giving authority figures a good verbal kicking, and Private's Progress wields its satire like a bayonet. No one is spared. Not the officers, not the politicians, not even the supposedly noble cause of war itself. If there's a whiff of decency, someone's bound to take the piss out of it. And yes, let's address the elephant in the barracks. This is the kind of film where the dialogue is sharp enough to cut and no one's afraid of a bit of blue language, though it's delivered with a smirk, not a shout. It's irreverence with a capital I, and you just know the script would have gleefully dropped a C-bomb or two if the censors weren't lurking. The result? A post-war comedy that feels as bracing as a slap to the face, with just enough bite to keep things dangerous. It's no wonder this one never found its way into American living rooms. Private's Progress isn't afraid to call things as it sees them, and it's got the stones to say what everyone else is thinking. If you want your comedy with a healthy dose of gallows humor and zero respect for authority, step right up. Number 4. I'm All Right, Jack, 1959. If you thought British comedies were all about genteel chuckles and cups of tea, I'm All Right, Jack will knock you flat. This is the film that dragged post-war Britain's class system into the daylight and gave it a good kicking. Forget subtle digs. This is social satire with barbed wire wrapped around it, every punchline laced with venom, every character a gleeful caricature of greed, laziness, or double-dealing. Ian Carmichael is back as the eternal innocent, Stanley Windrush, who lands a job in a munitions factory and instantly becomes a pawn in a no-holds-barred war between management and the unions. Enter Peter Sellers as the iconic Fred Kite, the union shop steward with a northern accent, thick enough to slice bread and an agenda sharper than any razor. Kite is the sort of bloke who calls it exactly as he sees it. He'd call you a lazy sod to your face and think nothing of dropping a choice expletive if the moment called for it. The brilliance of "I'm all right, Jack" lies in how it exposes every dirty little secret of British industry. The bosses are incompetent, the workers are on the take, and the unions are out for themselves. Everyone's a schemer, everyone's a cynic, and the only real crime is getting caught. There's a vein of cruelty running through the humor, the kind of merciless banter that could only come from a nation raised on sarcasm and self-deprecation. If someone needs a dressing down, rest assured, they'll get it, with language just shy of getting you thrown out of the pub. The film's reputation as a bit of a bastard is well earned. It doesn't tiptoe around touchy subjects. In fact, you get the sense the writers are daring you to be offended. No wonder it won Best British Film at the BAFTAs and became a smash hit. The public loved seeing the gloves come off. Could Hollywood ever make this? Not a chance. Too caustic, too real, and, let's face it, way too honest about where the real power lies. I'm All Right, Jack is proof that sometimes the rudest comedies tell the deepest truths. Number 3. School for Scoundrels, 1960. You think the British are all stiff upper lips and good manners? Think again. School for Scoundrels blows that myth out of the water, one perfectly aimed insult at a time. Based on Stephen Potter's infamous Lifemanship books, a how-to guide for getting ahead by underhanded means, this film makes no apologies for celebrating the art of being a first-class pain in the arse. Our protagonist, Henry Palfrey, played by Ian Carmichael, again, because no one does Hapless quite like him, is a walking doormat. Bullied at work, fleeced by car dealers, humiliated in love, he's everyone's favorite target. That is, until he discovers the School of Lifemanship, where Dr. Potter, the deliciously dry Alistair Sim, teaches him how to turn the tables and start winning at life by being just devious enough to leave his rivals in the dust. The genius of this film isn't just in its premise, it's in the execution. The insults are clever, the put-downs stiletto sharp, and the lessons in manipulation are delivered with a wink and a nudge. Palfrey's transformation from spineless mug to cheeky operator is a joy to watch, and the film's gallery of supporting cades, Terry Thomas as the grinning villain, Jeanette Scott as the love interest, keep the pace snappy and the comedy biting. What really sets School for Scoundrels apart is its sheer nerve. It's a love letter to the art of the wind-up, that classic British pastime of needling, and needling again until your opponent cracks. You get the feeling that, if they could have gotten away with it, someone would have dropped a C word in the middle of the cricket pitch just to see who'd flinch. And that's the heart of it. British comedy at its most deliciously wicked, daring you to laugh at the sheer audacity of it all. The message? Nice guys finish last, but the cleverest bastards always get the last laugh. Number 2. The Wrong Arm of the Law, 1963. Before Guy Ritchie made crime cool, there was The Wrong Arm of the Law, a deliciously madcap caper where the real joke is on everyone, and the crooks and coppers have more in common than you'd ever admit at family dinner. Set in a London crawling with cons, spivs, and enough double-dealing to make your head spin, this is the original British gangster comedy, one that Americans somehow missed while they were busy watching sanitized capers with a moral lesson tacked on the end. The setup is genius. Peter Sellers, in peak form, plays Pearly Gates, a posh criminal mastermind who runs his crew from a front operation, a fancy dress shop of all things. His nemesis isn't the usual flat-footed copper, but a mysterious syndicate of Australian crooks, the so-called Aussies, who are muscling in with even dirtier tricks. In a twist that could only happen in Britain, the police and the thieves join forces. Why? Because nobody likes outsiders muscling into their turf, not even the law. The gags are fast, the insults fly, and everyone, absolutely everyone, has a scam up their sleeve. There's a wicked satisfaction in watching Pearly and the chief inspector, played with dry brilliance by Lionel Jeffries, cut deals, swap double crosses, and trade one-liners sharp enough to draw blood. Nobody here is innocent, and everyone's out for themselves. It's a world where respectability is just a costume, and even the Bobby on the beat has to get his hands dirty. Why didn't this brand of comedy cross the Atlantic? Probably because it's loaded with a kind of unapologetic working-class bite American audiences never quite got. There's no hero, no villain, just a bunch of chancers doing their best to stay one step ahead, whatever it takes. The dialogue is so sharp, you half expect someone to drop a four-letter word and dare the censors to blink. The result: a film that feels as fresh and subversive today as it did in '63. If you want the blueprint for every witty, cynical crime comedy that followed, start here. The Wrong Arm of the Law isn't just a caper. It's a masterclass in making criminality riotously funny without ever losing its edge. Number 1, Carry On Sergeant, 1958. Long before Carry On became a byword for slapstick innuendo and seaside postcards, it all started here, with Carry On Sergeant. Imagine the most hopeless bunch of Army recruits ever assembled. A hypochondriac, a know-it-all, a hapless romantic, and at least 3 blokes who should probably have been left at home with their mums. Their mission? Survive basic training without getting the entire platoon court-martialed for sheer incompetence. The plot is simple, but the comedy is relentless. Sergeant Grimshaw, played by William Hartnell, yes, the very first Doctor Who, is on his last tour before retirement and desperate to win the best platoon trophy just once before he hangs up his boots. His recruits, however, have other ideas, mostly involving dodging work, sneaking off for a smoke, and inventing new and ever more creative ways to screw things up. Every character is a caricature, gleefully exaggerated, never mean-spirited, and united by a shared refusal to take anything seriously. The film's real genius is how it turns authority on its head. Grimshaw may bark and bluster, but he's powerless in the face of utter, organized chaos. The recruits can barely tie their own boots, let alone march in a straight line, and their solution to every problem is pure, unfiltered mayhem. Carry On Sergeant isn't just a one-off. It set the tone for an entire franchise, one that would run for decades, lampooning everything from doctors to diplomats to Cleopatra herself. What made it work was the anarchic spirit at its core. Nobody's above a joke, and everyone gets roasted in turn. There's a gleeful disrespect here, a willingness to puncture pomposity. That's as British as a rainy bank holiday. American audiences got glimpses of Carry On later on, but they never saw the lightning in a bottle that was this first entry. It's brash, it's cheeky, and it never lets the straight man off the hook. In a world that loves an underdog, these blokes are the underdog's underdogs, and they made losing a national pastime. Long may they stumble. So, there you have it. 10 riotous, rebellious British comedies that never got the American spotlight they deserved. From sly heists to schoolgirl sabotage and barracks full of buffoons, these films rewrote the rules and took no prisoners. Which one would you love to see finally get its due across the pond? Drop your pick in the comments, hit subscribe for more lost classics, and remember, real comedy doesn't play by the rules. Until next time, keep laughing and don't let the censors win.